Hello everyone! I took a little vacation last week and now I'm back to talk about Heathcliff, a 1995 rock opera conceived by and starring Cliff Richard based on Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. How did I get here? That's a good question. I first heard of this thing back in February when one of my viewers sent me a link to a compilation of clips from the 1997 stage performance, which I will be focusing on here. My first thought when I saw the title of this compilation was, Cliff Richard as Heathcliff? What? And then I watched it and I was like, oh my goodness, this looks ridiculous. It did make me want to see more though, so a few months later I finally checked out the 2-hour show. I wasn't planning to watch the whole thing, I was just gonna skip through it, but it drew me in, and it actually took more than 2 hours because I kept rewinding and replaying certain parts. And then the next night, I went looking for more, watched other live performances, found myself going down the Cliff Richard and Olivia Newton-John rabbit hole, and then I learned there was a highlights CD, which I ended up buying for my collection. And somewhere in the middle of all this, I realized, good grief, I was supposed to be laughing at this thing, and instead, I'm super into it. Heathcliff the musical was a passion project for Cliff Richard, who shares in the CD's liner notes that Wuthering Heights was the one book they studied in school that fascinated him, and he always dreamt of playing the lead role. In 1991, he proposed this idea to his frequent collaborator John Farrar, who composed all the music, and musical theater lyricist legend Tim Rice came on board to write it. According to the liner notes, this concept album was produced first. It's titled Songs from Heathcliff and includes 10 selections from the score. Olivia Newton-John is featured on 5 tracks, singing the role of Kathy Earnshaw, and Christina Nichols appears briefly as Isabella Linton. 2 years later came this theatrical presentation, with Helen Hobson playing the role of Kathy, and Cliff Richard realizing his dream as Heathcliff. I do suspect that some of my fellow American viewers don't know who Cliff Richard is, and I imagine my UK viewers are hearing that and saying, what? You've never heard of Sir Cliff Richard? He's been around forever. He's a British institution. He's our 3rd top-selling artist behind the Beatles and Elvis. Which is true, but I don't think he ever had as much success here in the US. I also don't know if he's considered a British institution. I kind of made that part up. Is he? I do know him. I've known who he was for a long time. He recorded the pop demo version of All I Ask of You with Sarah Brightman, which I heard a lot growing up, and I finally saw the cheesy music video in my teens. Oh, it's awful. He turned up, or at least his voice did, in the 1980 musical Xanadu, singing Suddenly with Olivia Newton-John. I love that song. Don't love the movie, but I love the soundtrack, and because I listen to a lot of oldies, I am familiar with a few of his hits, Devil Woman from 76, We Don't Talk Anymore from 79, and Living Doll, which was released back in 1960. If you think about it, someone who had a hit in 1960, and he wasn't a child, is probably a little too old to be playing Heathcliff in the mid-90s, but with a wig and a fake beard, I don't know, I think he pulls it off. What's weirder is that he's always had this super clean, light, wholesome image. So for lifelong fans, seeing him assume this bitter, vengeful, abusive character, even saying a bad word, must have been startling. It's not a part you'd expect him to play, especially if you consider Heathcliff a dastardly villain, as I do. But I was impressed. He's surprisingly good at acting nasty and cruel, and I thought his depiction of tormented grief, paired with book-accurate lyrics, was pretty spot on. His singing is excellent, of course. I'm not surprised by that at all. I've always found his unique, silvery vocals pleasant to listen to.
Oh, Kathy, you've paid, I've been betrayed.
His acting can be a bit over the top sometimes, and yeah, there's There's some weird stuff that makes you think, oh, well, that was a choice. Most infamous is this bit.
I cannot live without my soul.
Might as well get it out of the way now. What's especially unfortunate is that it comes during what should be the heaviest moment in the play, and I can't help laughing. However, I think it's so unfair to show that clip as if it's representative of the musical and his performance as a whole. It's not. Because I had seen that and other laughable elements beforehand, I expected the whole thing was gonna be awful. It definitely has its not-so-good points. But I genuinely felt after my first viewing that it was not that bad. And at this point, I kinda love it.
Stamp your tiny foot, my precious little lamb. Bleat ad nauseam.
The style of the music is dated, but I guess I like that style. I have kind of eclectic taste in musicals. A lot of my favorites are from the 80s, the 90s. These are compelling and catchy melodies with complicated, intense lyrics. I enjoyed several songs the first time I heard them, and other ones keep growing on me. Yes, it is a rock opera adaptation of Wuthering Heights. For some people, that just doesn't work. It doesn't gel. I get it. But in 2026, I don't think rock opera adaptations or any kind of musical interpretations of classic literature are really that unusual or surprising anymore. Les Mis and the Phantom of the Opera are 40 years old.
How can I forgive you for the murderous part you played in destroying your love and your life and mine?
I do think Heathcliff is a little hard to get into, a little slow at first, a little Each to His Own was the first thing that grabbed my attention, and that comes about 25-30 minutes in. In this number, Kathy teases Heathcliff, explaining her interest in Edgar Linton and her desire for something new and sophisticated. She's playful and relentless, he's wounded and glowering, the melody is catchy and tricky to sing, and I'm bummed that this song wasn't included on the CD.
Nothing can be permanent, nothing set in stone. Never try to fool yourself that you're not alone.
It's immediately followed by Had to Be, which it turns out is probably the most popular song from the show. Cliff Richard and Olivia Newton-John filmed a music video for it, and they performed it together at a concert. In the alternate version on the CD, Richard sings both male parts, which makes for a confusing narrative, because actually the first verse is a romantic one sung by Edgar.
Had to be no escape, no room for doubt.
And the second verse is a condemnation sung by Heathcliff.
In a world where the fake and shallow shine, she'll be fine.
Kathy rebukes him, and then there's a trio section with some really nice harmony. I've been kind of obsessed with this song in the last 2 weeks, both versions of it.
But the spark of hope remains and sustains the echo of the smile.
Then we get the I Am Heathcliff speech with some awkward slow motion, and the next part I would just as soon skip. Heathcliff goes off on the green screen ship to make his fortune abroad, and we get this terribly long sequence. There's a bunch of dancing, Heathcliff smokes a hookah. It's all kind of weird. Then he comes back all rich and exotic with a half ponytail. He dazzles Kathy and Isabella and infuriates Edgar. And it's around here where I feel the show really hits its stride. The story's flowing, the conflict is building, the energy is getting more intense, the songs are really getting good now, and the performers are locked in. Richard Hobson plus Sarah Haggerty as Isabella, Daryl Knock as Edgar, and Mr. Earnshaw and his son Hindley are both played by a wildly bewigged Jimmy Johnston, who I recognized. He played Will Parker in the '98 London production of Oklahoma with Hugh Jackman.
This huddling in my coat, this gypsy bundle, in Liverpool and squalor cast adrift.
Heathcliff acquires Wuthering Heights from Hindley after gambling with some comically large dice and cards. He marries Isabella, whom he detests, and the wedding song, I Do Not Love You, Isabella, is, well, it's troubling, but it's an awful lot of fun. I love how he's faking it during the ceremony and then spinning around to show us his true colors.
I do not love you, Isabella. I never have, I never will.
Isabella insists on marrying him despite Kathy's and Edgar's warnings, and she immediately regrets it, and this is where the adaptation gets really dark. Thank goodness, because this part should not be glossed over or watered down or reinterpreted somehow. Heathcliff is verbally and physically abusive, maybe more. This does lead to Isabella's best moment.
Wolfish savage, tuned to madness. Love is stifled, joy denied. I do hate him.
And that segues into the song Choosing When It's Too Late, which is the big confrontation number. There's lots going on. Pregnant Isabella runs to Edgar. Edgar's fed up with Heathcliff. Heathcliff finally gets direct with Kathy, who is also pregnant. Kathy defends him against Edgar. Heathcliff rubs this in by getting handsy. Kathy has a meltdown and runs away to the moors. It's all explosive and high-strung, and I really like this scene. This feels like Wuthering Heights. And then we have the song Marked with Death, which I guess could be labeled as Kathy and Heathcliff's love scene, except the whole time she's crying out in pain, she's crawling around on the rocks, sometimes he's pushing her. They're both aggressive and accusatory, and it's like, man, this love story is so messed up. That's Wuthering Heights. Tortured, selfish, spiteful, toxic love.
While you rest in peace, I shall ride in torment of hell.
I care nothing for your suffering.
But I really like this scene too. I like Kathy's breathless, pained I love you, and I think my favorite part is the string interlude, which plays over the one kiss they share. And then comes what I believe is the other most popular song from the musical, Be With Me Always, which is when Heathcliff begs for the deceased Kathy to come back and haunt him. It's an appealing melody, some of the chords are gorgeous, and the lyrics include verbiage from the book.
Be with me always, consume and invade me, take any shape or disguise.
I have just 3 problems with the musical as an adaptation of Emily Bronte's novel. Only 3, but they are significant. Number 1, there are a couple lines that imply Heathcliff is, in fact, Earnshaw's illegitimate son. That would make Kathy and Heathcliff half-siblings. No thank you. In the book, people do speculate about the boy's origin, but that is not canon. Number 2, the play opens and closes with a number titled A Misunderstood Man, which poses the question, is Heathcliff a bad guy, or is he just misunderstood? You know what I think. It is interesting that this song acknowledges that ever since its publication, the book has inspired vastly different reactions and interpretations. And that is one of the fascinating things about Wuthering Heights. I also think that they do a fair job showing that this character is complicated and multifaceted. But I get the impression that somebody, Cliff Richard maybe, wanted the audience to feel more sympathetically toward Heathcliff, or Heathcliff and Cathy as a pair. And if that's the case, it didn't really work for me. His sorrow and suffering are well played, and the music is haunting and beautiful at times, but it doesn't make me forget that these are two selfish, deceitful, manipulative people who used each other and others for their own ends. It doesn't help that we get a wedding song reprise where people from his past come back to confront him, and then the Misunderstood Man reprise is sung by the whole company at the end, and I feel having the characters who were wronged by him stand there and sing the song gives it an extra edge, and tips the scales back against him. Except the play does cut out a lot of his most evil deeds. And that brings me to number 3, my biggest disappointment, though it's not really surprising considering how many other versions do it. They skip all the stuff with the next generation. We are told that Heathcliff has been miserable, cursed, haunted, etc. for the last 18 years, but without those characters and the awful things that he does, it implies he's just been moping around on the moors this whole time. I hate it when adaptations pull this nonsense. You didn't finish it. There's half of the book that you just decided not to cover. You were so determined to spin the story a certain way that you cheated and pretended all this other stuff. The whole revenge plot didn't happen. I get really steamed up about that. There's no Nellie Dean either, but it's the kids being cut that really makes me feel like, ugh! I guess it's a testament to how much I like the rest of it that this egregious omission doesn't sour me on it completely. I was disappointed and frustrated when I got to the end, but I still enjoyed it overall, and I continue to enjoy it. I have watched it a couple times, and I listened to the CD a ton. I've had a bunch of these songs rolling around in my brain for the last several days, and that's been a lot of fun. Editing Weaselberry here, that might be the understatement of the year. While putting this video together, I have watched certain parts of this musical over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it's only getting better. Some people say it's bad. Whatever. I don't care. I would like to add how much I appreciate how this was filmed. They didn't just do it concert style with singers standing at a row of microphones. They did the whole thing, fully acted, and all the close-ups and edits make for a more intimate experience. Also, I haven't talked much about the Highlights album, but I will mention that the differences are pretty much what you would expect. They're very similar, but the studio recording sounds cleaner and more polished, while the live performances are more vibrant, richer, more emotive, and therefore more raw. Olivia Newton-John has some great throaty moments, yet there is that soft, light, ethereal quality that her voice generally had. Helen Hobson's Cathy, on the other hand, is more earthy, tempestuous, forceful. They're both good, but different.
I shall not be tricked into pity, for you must know full well that I love you, and you can't inflict any pain that's more than this living hell, but I love you. Life too good to last. Why are we so complicated?
I figured out yesterday that there was another CD release for Heathcliff the Musical, a 2-disc recording of the live show. And that should be arriving at my house in a week or two. This musical is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I found it surprisingly enjoyable and, up to a certain point, rather faithful to what Emily Bronte wrote, which is more than I can say for some of the films. As far as Wuthering Heights adaptations go, you could do worse. I hope you enjoyed the video. I have put a link to the musical in the description so that you can check it out too if you like, and you can come back and let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and I'll be back next Saturday with another review. Thanks for watching.